Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. That there's something wrong. You don't know what it is, but it's there. Like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. Do you want to know what it is? You can feel it when you go to work, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind. Unfortunately, no one can be told. You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Is the truth, nothing more.
forsake not the assembling of ourselves. This is one of the most interesting verses actually in the Bible that Christians and many other denominations love to use this one particular verse. Forsake not assembling of ourselves. So people operate on this belief, forsake not, using that Bible verse to justify their actions of assembling together no matter what. No matter what, they're going to forsake not assembling of themselves. So even if they gather together unto a condemnation or come together unto judgment, this is one of the problems. You see, one must remember man is appointed to once die after the judgment. Hebrews 9:27. So what is the proposal of assembling ourselves together? And we're assembling ourselves in what is a building which is called a church, and we are the temple of God, and these are not buildings. So will we be judged based on ignorance of we dwelling in buildings, saying this is God's house and God's house is you? We gather in buildings to do a couple of things. We gather in there to do these few things. However, are we assembling ourselves unto that judgment? See, we mean this. We want to look at this and understand how this is actually working out. If we look at Habakkuk chapter 1 and verse 12, it says, "Art thou not from everlasting, O Lord my God, my Holy One? We shall not die, O Lord. Thou hast ordained them for judgment, and Almighty God has established them for correction." Meaning, if we sitting there and he's coming from everlasting, we're appointed to judgment. Because if we are clearly doing what we say, we go into a building and we saying this is the church of God, and the church of God is people, and we going in a church where adultery, fornication, lust, covet, lies, gods, whoredom, idolatry, witchcraft, heresy, drunkenness, even wrath is all in that church. All in that building. That we want to believe this is God's house. And we can't go into any church building where that didn't happen. Where that didn't happen. Why can I say that? Because you can't find one building where that never happened. And God says this in verse 13. He says, "Thou art of pure eyes than to behold evil. Thou canst look upon iniquity." But you go into a church building that they want to call a church building, and we have all those being committed in those buildings. I want you to think about that, because this is the problem we have today. Many people are going to continue to say, well, I'm going to the church of God where idolatry, fornication, adultery, whoredom, witchcraft, heresies, drunkenness, all is there. We're going to a whorehouse, and then later we want to sit there talking about we went to the church of God. So welcome to King James Bible University. I'm Elder Michael Johnson with the Lost Sheep of Israel. And today we need to see, are we being appointed for judgment or not?
This guy is a reference machine.
So we need to look at this. We got to go through this, and we really got to get a better understanding. Are we establishing ourselves to be established for correction? We assembling ourselves to a building, which God says we are the temple of God. However, we go into a building saying that it's the church of God, and we're assembling ourselves there. So you tell me, is that ignorance or what? Meaning this. So if we functioning of sin, and we doing the functions of sin, and we going in a place, we going in a church building committing sinful acts, and he's already made it clear, thou art of purer eyes than behold evil. This is clear. And then we do things, and we go there and we offer things. Think about this. We offer things that is unimpressive to God. We steal from God. We steal from God. And then we offer those things to God. See, when we look at some things and we want to understand how some things are, we got to go to the main parts of it. So we're going to look at Malachi chapter 1, verse 8, and we're going to see what we done. And it tells you here, it says, if ye offer the blind for sacrifice, is it not evil? We offer blind, and we offer something blind, is that not evil? Is it not evil if we offer the lame and the sick? Is it not evil? See, he goes on, offer it unto thy governor. Will he be pleased with thee or accept thy person, saith the Lord. This is what we do. We will sit there and offer something blind. Even more so, you think God don't even care. He tells you this, and he makes sure you clearly understand this. We'll offer things to God, and we don't think God even pays attention to it. See, and God made this clear. He made this perfectly clear. In Psalms 50 in verse 9, he tells you this. I will not take a bullock out of thy house, nor he-goats out of thy foes. People sit there and look at this and believe they talking about their place, and he's not. You're going to offer something that's blind. You're going to offer lame and sick, and then you want to take this to God. And he's telling you, for every beast of the field of the forest is mine, and the cattle upon 1,000 hills. But we will go to him, steal what is there, take it back to God and offer it. We think we been doing good. I know all the fowls of the mountain, all the wild beasts of the field are mine. Those are his. But we will take them and take them to God and offer them up to God. Here you go, God. God even said, if I were hungry, I wouldn't tell thee, for the world is mine and the fullness thereof. So now you got these idiotic preachers telling you this is no longer good. This is no good. Now we gone from, we don't have farms, we don't have these things, so we done went to money. We done gone to money. But the same thing is what? We're going to go to Haggai chapter 2, and we're going to drop down to verse 8. So the same thing. We doing all this over here, what he's saying. We want him to accept silly things. And he tells you in Haggai chapter 2, verse 8, the silver is mine and the gold is mine. So when we get back here to Malachi chapter 3, verse 8, he makes it clear. Will a man rob God? You think about that. You need to think about, will you rob God? The goats is his, the sheep is his. The gold, the silver is his, but we want to sit there and offer God something that belongs. Will a man rob God? I ain't never robbed. You robbed him. If you didn't offer any of this stuff, any of these items that you offered, you robbed God. And the first thing we want, but ye say, when have we robbed thee? In tithes and offering. In tithes and offering. And we assembling after we get all together with these stolen goods and we go into a building and we offer this stuff to God. I'm done. It becomes comical because we done went and done stole all this stuff that we want to offer to God. And then this is our version: forsake not assembling ourselves and coming together. And we come together unto condemnation. Want God to accept something, and condemnation don't mean nothing but judgment. So we're going to come into judgment based on the desires and the belief of our own lives and our own laws that we want to believe in, because we want to do it our way. We want to go there. We're going to take him Burger King. See, this is the problem, because if anyone hunger for the word of truth, let him learn at home. And when the church, the people come together, the church, and seek answers and questions and trying to get understandings, he tells you this. We'll go up to Jeremiah. And he makes this perfectly clear. Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 15 makes it pretty clear. We're going to look at this and we're going to see exactly what it's saying. He's saying, I will give you pastors according to my heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. No one should be having a problem. No one should be having this problem whatsoever. So this is what most of us try to do here. This is what most of us try to look at. This is what most of us try to get a hold to. So, for example, one should never base a verse and they don't understand it in not coming together because they doing that under condemnation. The Bible verse says it, but you think it says something else. Not understanding gonna get you killed. So if you clearly understood the verse, you wouldn't forsake to come together to steal, kill, and destroy. We wouldn't be coming together to do that. We wouldn't be coming together with stolen items and trying to offer them back to the Creator who created them. Then they belong to him. See, we wouldn't be forsaken not to go to a building to commit adultery and fornication. If we would forsake not to come together, we wouldn't even forsake to come together for spiritual adultery and fornication. Would we or have we? See, we know Wisdom of Solomon, he makes a lot of stuff clear for us. See, in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 14, you go down to verse 12, and he makes this perfectly clear. For the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication, and the invention of them, the corruption of life. The corruption of life. Really? This is part of our problem. This was the beginning of spiritual fornication. for the devising of idols. Devising of men in doing these things. See, the Spirit of God say devising of idols. Not just images, statues, paintings, pictures. Is the beginning of spiritual fornication. We are assembling ourselves unto condemnation. We are assembling ourselves unto judgment because we are following men that devise these things, and they're nothing more but schemes and inventions and plots to get you to come together thinking you coming together unto God. For these devising of idols, they have done this. Men will come together to devise schemes and plots to put you part of and to pull you away from the truth. So we have to understand how all this works out. How we get into different things and why we keep having these problems in life. See, when you go through these things, we even went through this and he said, go speak to Judah about this. On the same examples, what I'm going to show you now. In Jeremiah chapter 18, verse 11, he makes this clear. He says, therefore, for that reason, go to speak to the men of Judah and the inhabitants, all the people of Jerusalem, saying, thus saith the Lord. Thus says Yahweh, remember, I framed evil against you. Who? God. I framed evil against you. Who did that? God. He said it. He framed evil against us and to devise a device against you. Wait a minute. People want to sit there and say, I can treat God any kind of way I want to. And God not going. And then I can walk. I can turn around and turn my head and just keep on walking. And then when I decide to love God, I can go back and love God. And he going to take me back. God saying, I framed evil against you. I framed the evil against you. Why? And devise a device against you. Return ye now everyone from his evil way and make your way in your doing good. Make your way in your doing good. That's what he's saying. Make your way in your doing good. Now, we looking at this, we going through this, and we trying to understand what he's talking about. But when he says, think not that he done framed this against you. See, when God's saying he has framed something, we don't know what he actually saying. But we're going to find out what this actually framed against you. See, the Most High God framed something. What he's saying is he has strengthened evil against you. Devised the device. That's what that framed is. He strengthened. He done framed this. He done strengthened this against you. The Most High God had placed before us good will come of something, and then he also placed something that's bad that can come of it. The same as with blessings and curses. Let's look at this to understand how God did this. We gotta see how he devises things to understand where God coming from. And if not, this is our Heavenly Father. We need to know exactly how he's working. He put it all in a book, but we want to go from book to book. We want to go from different books to different books to different books. And all we need to do is be seeking out the one book. See, and he says this clear as day in Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 26. Behold, remember, I have set before you this day blessings and curses. Blessings and a curse. He devised a device. He has set before us blessings and a curse. From the mouth of Moses, from God, blessings in the path of peacefulness and curses of the road of destruction. Showing us images of this. The device of God. The device of God. So we got to go back and we're going to look at some of this, and we're going to see in Jeremiah chapter 18, verse 1. And it says, which the Lord which came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, arise, go down to the potter's house. Go down to potter's house. Go down to the potter's house. Why? You go down to the potter's house, and there I will cause thee to hear my words. So we go down to the potter's house to see the device. We go down to the potter's house to see the device. But he goes on board. He says, then I went down to the potter's house, and behold, he wrought a work on the wheel. He done wrought the work on the wheel. So he is made these devices, and he's going to clear you that you know what it is. And the vessels that he made of clay was marred in the hand of the potter. This is the main part. We need to clearly understand where he's coming from all the time. This is the main part we need to understand. He has marred. This one that was made of clay was marred. It was defective, becoming good for nothing. It was marred. You see, he said the clay was marred. It was good for nothing. Let's look at this. Let's look at how this is working. See, when we look at Jeremiah chapter 13, we're going to see this. Verse 7. Then I went unto Euphrates and digged and took a girdle from the place where I had hid it. And it's being whole, and the gird was marred. It was marred. It was marred. It was profitable for nothing. It was worthless. It was marred for nothing. This is what he's talking about. The clay that he had made in the image from the vessel which he had made from the clay, it was innocent. It was marred. It was worthless. The device. This is God speaking. See, and we got to find out what was going on with him, because he's telling you right up front. So in them 2 and 2, he makes a lot of stuff clear. He tells you right here, for the Lord have turned away the excellency of Jacob. Don't we all claim we from Jacob? We all claim we from Jacob. And he says, as an excellency of Israel, the emptiers have emptied them out and marred their vine branches. I'm talking about the emptiers emptied out the goodness. They done emptied us out. And we are marred even with these spiritual images now with these idols. We're marred. Marred what? we ain't worth nothing if we doing all this crazy stuff coming together in a building that's worthless. We marred. See, and he tells you this when we look at 1 Corinthians. He tells you this. When we look at this, we're going to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 2. He said, know ye not that ye were Gentiles carried away unto these, mean it was a bunch of them, these dumb idols. we was Gentiles in the mind, going to good for nothing things and worshiping good for nothing things. Smart. Good for nothing. We going to somewhere where it's good for nothing, and then we worshiping something that's good for nothing, which makes us good for nothing. And then we listening to a fool that's doing something that's good for nothing. We worshiping something, dumb idols. We got people who worshiping this white image of a Jesus. We got people worshiping Buddha. You got people worship rocks, sheep, cows, pigs. You name it, we worship it. You got people that come in and they'll worship the very man that's teaching them the doctrine. They'll treat him as a god. They'll sit there and treat the man as a god, as you was led. They come in and they'll do everything at the bottom of their soul to make sure that this man that's supposed to feed them, they treat him as a god. They give him their last dollar to make sure he can go put some go buy in some Gucci shoes. They'll give him their last to make sure he can be up on the hill. Saying that's a man of God. So he need to be up there. I'm going to go on the street and I'm going to go beg for some money so I can make sure I can give him this money. This is what we do. We were Gentiles in the mind, taking off the dumb idols, worshiping these men, being marred more than anyone else because we worshiping these dumb idols. Excuse me. So what happened? So when we look at Isaiah and we're going to look at this, we're going to get the understanding. We have to do it. We're going to look at chapter 52 and we're going to go down to verse 14. And it tells us and it makes it even more understanding. And it says, as many were astonished at thee, his vintage was so marred more than any man. Many was astonished at his vintage. So marred more than any man of his form, more than the sons of men. So we were so worthless, so worthless more than Gentiles. I don't care how you look at it. This is how we do it. When he sitting there talking about this prophecy on how we did this one, because he was coming to give you something that you needed, and we marred him because we felt he was good for nothing. They was astonished. It wasn't worth it. Wasn't even worth a piece of poop. Technically, what it's saying, no one won't poop. What is poo? Poo. When people defecate, poo. You remember how your parents would say, "You ain't worth blankety blank. You ain't worth blank. You ain't worth blank." Well, when you in that building saying it's God's house. See, I'm going to show you this. We want to look at this. Look at it real good and understand what this is saying. We're going to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 16. He says, know ye not that the temple of God and the Spirit of God dwelleth in you? He dwelling in you. That ye are the temple of God. But we dwelling in a building. So what do he do? Because we're so stupid, we're so foolish, we're so ignorant, we got to go to a building that they call God, that he dwells. So what he does is this. If any man defile the temple of God, trying to put a building in a building, him shall God destroy, for the temple of God is holy, which temple ye are. So they trying to put a building inside of a building. We trying to put a building in a building. So what we trying to do is take poo and put it in poo. It ain't worth nothing. This is why we had that problem. This is why we go through these issues. This is why we have to understand and get a better understanding to where we need to do better. See, people want to sit there and say, man, this pastor is getting on people. But the thing I want you to understand is we need to get right with God. Because right now, God's saying we ain't worth poo. You ain't worth poo. The only thing won't poo is flies. That's it. Nothing else won't poo. And we taking poo to another building to put the poo in the building. All right here. So what they do, we become, and we are fulfilling a prophecy. We fulfilling a prophecy. I'll show it to you. So we can look at it and understand it. We're going to go to Deuteronomy. We're going to look at chapter 28, and we're going to see the prophecy. We fulfill it. We're going to drop down right down here. We're going to look at verse 37. Verse 37, and it's going to make us clear. It's going to make it. It says, and thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whether the Lord shall lead thee. We're going to become a proverb and a byword. A byword of all nations, that we ain't worth a piece of poo. The potter's hands was dirty. He done got his hands dirty and he shaped poo. This is why God devised this. If God is the potter, what not can he do? What not can he do? So when you go right back here and you look at Jeremiah, because we got to keep everything is always connected. Everything is connected. We can't disconnect anything. See, but you have these preachers will try to tell you distancy on what it is. So he tells you this in verse 6 in Jeremiah 18. He says, O house of Israel. And is not this what we call it? We call ourselves Israel, right? I just want to make sure if we don't call ourselves Israel, then we need to either close the book up or we need to tear this out the Bible. Are you with me? So it says, O house of Israel, we call ourselves Israel? So if we call ourselves Israel, he's talking to you, he's talking to me, he's talking to anyone who professing this. Cannot I do you as this potter, saith the Lord? Cannot I do this? And the same thing. He did a vessel good and made it. He's telling you right up what he's doing. He said, remember, as the clay is in the potter's hand. You ain't in your hand. You're in the potter's hand. Yet in my hand, O house of Israel. He made it. So this is the problem. This is what we have to look at. This is the whole issue altogether. Mean what? We got to remember we are clay and God is the potter. And as with clay, we cannot come together unto condemnation. We can't come together to judgment. We are in his hand. And if God sees us as poo, he is going to destroy the image, the very image that was created. See, God ain't going to be poo. He's not going to look like poo. He ain't poo. He got poo, and then he got one that's good. And see, and we know this is clear. And this is something I don't never want any of us to ever forget on how this runs. See, because when we run this here, we want to clearly understand what God is talking about. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, and this is why he says it. This is why he got to get rid of the poo. In Genesis chapter 27, it says, so God created man in his own image. He's not poo. He's not poo. So if he created man in his own image, why is people sitting there saying they going to a church saying that's a house of God? And the house of God is over there where they going to. You got adultery, fornication, all this silliness, all this craziness is going on in that church. And you taking a church to the church. Poo. Taking poo to a poo. You taking poo to the trash can. Guaranteeing yourself to hell. You is poo in that building is the trash can because he's going to destroy that. It's temporary. He's going to get rid of it. Are you following me? See, we have to understand what's going on here. He done framed this evil against us. We're going to drop down to verse 11 in Jeremiah chapter 18. It says, now therefore, again, go speak to the men of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, saying, thus saith the Lord, behold, I framed evil against you. Now we get it. Oh, we get it now. Oh, you get it now. He done strengthened this evil against it. He devised a vice against us. And he then put this, and he got all these pooper picker uppers. So if you look like poo, you smell like poo, you walk like poo, you assemble like poo, you talk like poo, you dress like poo, guess what? Guess what? You're nothing more than poo. And when you did that, he tells you what he does with this. He tells you clearly what he does with this. He gonna make this clear. In Isaiah chapter 54, we're gonna drop down to verse 16. We got to look at this and understand what he's talking about. He said, remember, behold, remember. You got dumb teachers out there and dumb preachers out there. They tell you all kinds of, behold, behold, he's being really open about it. No, remember, I have created the smith to blow upon the coals of fire and to bring it for an instrument of his work. Instrument? What is this instrument? I have created the waster to destroy. The waster. He done created a waster. What is this? This a sanitation guy. He gonna come and he gonna get this poo up. I need to put an application there because I don't mind picking up this trash. This poo. This device, this waster, and this waster picks up this poo, this stinks, this ugly. I'll tell you what, let me ask you a question. We want to ask a question, and this is a self question that we're going to ask. Have you ever smelled poo that smells good? Have you ever seen poo that looks good? Are you following me? Have you ever had a smell poo that looks good? Because we have chosen to do things which is according to the flesh to become poo. This is what we do. We have done these things to just do what we want to do. Why? Because we feel we can do it. We doing things according to the flesh. We doing things that's not good towards God. See, verse 12 tells us and makes this real clear here. In Jeremiah chapter 18, verse 12, he said, Then they said, there is no hope, but we walk after our own devices. We will, everyone, do the imagination of evil his heart. Are you really serious? This is what we do. We walk in our own thoughts. Why? And God already said this. Just look how he's running this, and we see it. Genesis chapter 6, verse 5. He says, and God saw the wickedness. We doing it over here. He saw the wickedness of man was great in the earth. In every imagination of the thought in his heart was only evil continually. Didn't these fools just say that? And they say there is no hope, but we walk after our own devices, and we, everyone, do the imagination of his evil heart. Are we that ignorant? Meaning what? All the evil in the heart. We'll sit there, men lying with men, women lying with women, men and women lying with other married people, swingers. Men want to share their wives so they can have that man's wife, and the wife want to have that man so she can have that man. Swingers. Women bringing other women into their bedrooms and silliness. Being made and shaping yourself good for nothing. Good for nothing. You can look at yourself, and if you're doing these things, you look in the mirror and I'm good for nothing. I'm worthless to God. If I'm doing this, you look in the mirror and you stand there and you say, I'm worthless to God. You got women introduce animals in their bedroom. Men too. Men and women lying with children. You got men and women performing acts on babies. You got fools out there trying to steal money and steal houses. This is what we do. If we're being part of that, you need to see, and when you go look in the mirror, you need to understand that, well, I'll tell you what, when you look in the mirror, hi, I'm poo. I'm good for nothing for God. He goes on more. Therefore, verse 13, therefore, for that reason, thus saith the Lord, ask ye now among the heathen, who have heard such things? Who heard of this kind of stuff? The children of Israel do these things, and if you're a true child of Israel, you wouldn't be doing this. How? The Bible tells you. Let's go to Romans chapter 9, verse 6. It tells you, and it's clear. Not as though the word of God has taken none effect. For they are not all Israel, which are of Israel. Is that clear enough? Is that clear enough? Who ever heard of such a thing? Where people do that kind of stuff. And you want to call yourself and you want to latch yourself to God. And you think God going to accept you? You poo. You worthless. You good for nothing if you're doing this thing. You got homosexuals out there doing these things, and then they want to sit there and say, God gonna accept me the way I am. Then you're gonna lie on God and say, God created me this way. We do it all the time. Think nothing about it. Think nothing about it. You got fools out there teaching you everything that God said. They say he changed it. That was for them back there, not for us. We're good for nothing. Just because you professing you're Israel doesn't make you Israel. Just because you sit there and thinking that you having this homosexual life, sleeping all around, doing all these silly things, that you're Israel. Because you're not. You poo. You having people where they're going to do things according to the desires of God. And the person that's doing everything wrong going to judge them and saying, "Oh, you're a commandment keeper. You're a commandment keeper." Thinking they doing what's right. And he got a waster for you. He got a waster getting ready to come down your block and pick your poo up. He got a waster to come get you. See, they get caught up in these lifestyles. They get caught up in these weird ways of living. They get caught up in silliness. They get caught up under doctrines of devils. Pooh. Pooh. He says this in verse 14. In Jeremiah chapter 18, verse 14, as we've just gone down, it says, "Will a man leave the snow of Lebanon, which cometh forth from a rock of the field?" Now, I'm going to tell you what he did. Jeremiah slipped a parable in on us. And do anybody know what that parable means? Do anybody know what that means? See, that's the catch on how the Bible runs. He do these things and want to see it, you paying attention. See, the parable says one thing, but most people don't even know what it's saying. Because one, we need to know what those things mean. If we don't know the affiliation of these things, we don't know what he's talking about. So we need to think on it. Just think on it. See, and shall running water be forsaken for strange or cold water? Why it says that? Or shall the cold flowing water come from another place be forsaken? So you see, you're asking these questions. Can we answer them? That's the catch. Can we answer those? See, learning ways of the heathen, we have forsaken the truth and assembled ourselves unto condemnation and to judgment. And then what we have done, we will sit there, we will leave this book and go into a commentary book, which is stupid within itself. And then we're going to see what these white men done said, and we're going to take that as truth. And they've been lying to you your entire life. They've been lying to you your entire life. And we get caught up. We get caught up. Now, watch what he says, and we're going to really mean what we're going to see what he's saying. We're going to say, because my people have forgotten me. Why? You're going to a dang building. You're the temple of God, but I'm going to the church of God in Christ, and boy, the Lord is in that place. He was in that place. Who's in that place? He said he don't dwell in buildings made with hands. you know, that's up for debate. I'm telling you, that's up for debate. And I'm telling you, the Lord is working over there for me. Really, that's Satan working for you. Because my people have forgotten me, they have burned incense to vanity and have caused them to stumble in their ways from the ancient path to walk in the path in a way not cast up. Getting right back into these lifestyles. We have done all these Hellenistic things in burning incense to vanity and causing others to stumble in the path of their oaths. Meaning what? To make their land desolate in a perpetual hissing. Everyone that passed thereby shall be astonished and wag their head. Really? Really? They're going to wag their heads. Hissing. Looking at what? They going to wag. See, we want to sit there and try to follow the Joneses, and people haven't even figured it out. And we're being so stiff-necked, so hard-headed, so ignorant that they look at what we do. We're few in number. But you ever notice when you want to move something, that they want to really move something, or they want something really to go big, they put that image of what? They put an image of a Hebrew on that thing. Your best-selling shoes that people can't get enough of, he been out there, he been retired for years. You got those Air Jordans out there. All they got to do is put an image of us. Sprite. They put an image of us. When they want to move something, they put us on it. You ain't seen that. And then people gonna be astonished because they wag their heads and look like, these people just so stupid. They don't even know they carry all the weight. Few in number, but they carry so much weight. And we don't know. Let's look at Lamentations. Let's look at something. Because they wag their heads looking at us because we don't know. We don't know nothing. Lamentations chapter 2, we're going to pick it up at verse 15. And he tells you this, and he makes this perfectly clear again. He said, all that pass by clap their hands at thee, and hiss and wag their heads at the daughters of who? Jerusalem. It's talking about Israel. Didn't he just say this over here in verse over here in 16? He tells you this over here. They wag their heads and hissing and everything. They pass by and hiss and wag their head at the door, saying, is this the city that men call the perfection of beauty? Wait a minute. Hold up a second. Hey, John, come here, John. I got to talk to you. Are those the people right there? Those the people that they say is Israel? Do you really want me to look at them, John? John, you got to look at them. Look at me, John. Look at me. This is what they do. They're going to compare. Is this them? Is this them? They sit there and wag their heads and saying, is that them? The joy of the whole, is that them? Really? This is who they call perfection? Man, this ain't nothing but a pile of poo. And it stinks over here. Why you think showing you to be in a pile of poo, he put you in poo? Why? How do we know? Where do we live? Most of us live in slum areas, stinks, ghettos, very low income areas. Why? To show you we stink because we don't doing what God told us to do. So the waster is doing their jobs. Some went overboard, but they doing their job. The waster is doing his job to the letter. Some of them abuse it, but they doing their job. Let's look at this verse 16. And it says, all thy enemies have opened up their mouths against thee, and they hiss and gash their teeth, and say, we have swallowed her up. Certainly, this is the day that we look for. We have found, we have seen it. Really. This is the day we look for. Thy enemies open up their mouth against us. Why? I can show you why. We can come right back. I can show you why. We can come right back. Show you why. Let me go over here and we're going to look at this real quick. We're going to go to Psalms chapter 83. And we're going to see. They tell you right in verse 4. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name Israel be no more in remembrance. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And this is what they have done. And we have let them pull it off. They open their mouth against it and they have gashed their teeth and say, we have swallowed her up. Because now we done changed land to their name, and now their name is land. You got people embarrassed to say that they're Israel. Did you know that? You have people embarrassed to say they're Israel. What are you? Oh, I'm an Israelite. You got people embarrassed to say that. They use terms and put things on there to make you, and then they like to put black Hebrew Israelite. That's silliness. I'm an Israelite. No, he's a black Hebrew Israelite. Stupidity. What are you, man? I'm an Israelite. Oh, you're a black Hebrew Israelite? Dude, what did I just say? What are you? I'm a European. Oh, wait, you're a white Caucasian white boy, Caucasian European? No. I'm a Caucasian. Okay, then don't sit there and I told you something. You use the exact words that I said. Don't try to repeat it or add something to it. Don't add something. Don't take nothing away from it. So he goes on more. The Lord have done that which he devised. He fulfilled this. He have filled his words and have commanded in this day of old, and have thrown down and have not pitied, and he have caused thy enemies to rejoice over thee, and have set up the horn of thy adversaries. Thy horn of thy adversaries. So when we look at this, in verse 17, he says what? I will scatter them, in Jeremiah 18, verse 17, I will scatter them with the east wind before the enemy. I shall show them the back and not the face in the day of their calamity. So he scattered us. He scattered us doing what? See, he's telling you right up front what he's doing. All you have to do is precept the Bible. See, and as he did this, we had the biggest problem to where we don't want to look at stuff and we thinking everything contrary to God. So he tells us this in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. He tells you exactly what he did. He's telling you right there what I'm going to do. He said he's going to scatter us. Let's see, did he do it? Let's see, did he even say he was going to do it? In verse 28, 68, it says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt with ships. So he gonna bring us into Egypt with ships. He gonna bring us back into bondage. He gonna bring us back into trash. He gonna bring us back in those dumb trash cans again with ships. by the way where I speak unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. What do that mean? Again. See, he gonna take you back in with ships. And we gonna see this land no more again. Why? Because he brought our butts over there once before, and guess what happened? We became poo, good for nothing. So again, he got to get rid of us. So what do that again mean? We'll never be back in that land in this bodily form until all this is done. That's what that means. But what we have fools going over there now talking about we going over there to get our land. We gonna get our land back. I don't care what you say. God says he gonna bring you back. So this is clear. He said, I'm gonna bring you back into Egypt again with ships by the way thereof I speak unto thee, and thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, for slaves. And no man shall buy. Ain't no man gonna get you out of this. No man is gonna get you out of this here. What man gonna go in the trash can and take poo out of a trash? Can you think about that? Who gonna go in a trash can and see poo and say, "Ooh man, let me get this poo"? Going back into the waste field, can you see anybody going into a waste field and they particularly looking for poo? Being sold unto enemies. Not a man will buy you out of this, but you have even educated fools. Some got PhD degrees, fools seeking reparations from the white man. I say it again. You got educated fools. I got to put that fools there. And fools, any fools that want that reparations is a fool. Why? Why are you saying that, John? I'm going to tell you why. They didn't put you in bondage. The Lord did it. He tells you right there. The Lord said, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. You look over here at Jeremiah 18 in verse 17. I will scatter them as with an east wind before the enemy. He did it. The one I serve, he did it. He wanted me to come tell you this. You want reparations? Go to him. See how you come out. You keep going. You're going to the wrong guy. You're going to a white man. You want to put him that he put you in slavery. He didn't do it. He was able to prevail because we were sinning against God. We was a stiff-necked people thinking our butt don't stink in that position, and we were smelling like poo all the time. But you go to him and you get those reparations from him. And I want to stand there to see you asking for reparation. I want to see how you come out. Because guess what? I'm going to put in an application for a waster. I'll be picking up the poo, and hey Moses, I can dump them. But we got fools out there. And you got many people, many of them going to sit there. You got people even in here now sitting there, well, you send me reparations, I'm going to get it. The white man had nothing to do with it. I'm telling you, letting you know, if you seeing it right here yourself. God said, I will scatter them. He's telling you beforehand, he going to send you into bondage with ships. Go tell him you want your money. Go tell him that. See how you come out. See how you come out telling him. Guarantee you ain't gonna like it. Why? Because we sat there and we did things what we wasn't supposed to be doing. The covenant wasn't with the white man. Again, the covenant wasn't with the white man. The covenant we broke was with God. And we were acting like poo. So he shipped out the poo. And guess what? You do got a buyer of poo. You have a buyer who will buy poo. It's a buyer of poo. Don't worry. Out of everything, somebody, something out there will buy poo. And if we're going to sit there and act like poo and be like poo, smell like poo, you got a buyer. I'm going to show you that buyer. We're going to look at this in Matthew chapter 4, verse 9. He makes this clear. And all he said is one thing. The buyer of poo said, all these things I will give thee if thou wilt fall down and worship me. Satan, if poo will be willing to worship me, I don't care what God said about you, but you good with me. If you want to push for reparations from this white man, I will help you do it. If you want equal citizenship as that white man, I'm going to help you do it. Whatever you sit there and you say that you want, Satan said, I'll help you do it. All you got to do is fall down and worship me. You want to build a church building and want me to come? I'll come. See, that's Satan. You want me to roll over there? I'll roll over there with you. God ain't going to do it, but guess what? I go. Build a building, I'll come. See, that shows you how that God is. That God, he ain't gonna come. You build it, that's a beautiful building, I'm gonna come. That's Satan. Yeah, but to break the laws of God, yeah, see, that's why you don't even need the laws of God. That's what they say. That's what he's saying. Just fall down and worship me. You don't need the laws of God. With someone teaching you the correct way, they become zealous. And you got fools out there thinking zealous is something else. Zealous is jealous. And they get mad when you got people teaching as such. You got fools teaching as such, and they get zealous. They get jealous for you doing so. Let me show you an example. Show you how this works out. We're going to look at Acts. Acts chapter 21. And we're going to pick it up at verse 17. And watch the beautiful way of this. Verse 17. Now, it tells us right there in verse 17. It says, and when we were come to Jerusalem, the brethren received us gladly. So when Paul and them got to Jerusalem, the brothers received them gladly. All right. And then in verse 18, in the day following, Paul went in with us unto James, and all the elders was present. So the men in Jerusalem was teaching false doctrine. However, when they see, as we continue to go, we're going to see what Paul and them end up doing. We're going to see what happened. Watch this. And when they had saluted them, he declared particularly what things God had wrought among the Gentiles by his ministry. Had wrought against the Gentiles in his ministry. And he goes on more. And when they heard it, they glorified the Lord and said unto him, thou seest, brother, how many thousands of Jews there are which believe, and they are all zealous of the law. They're all zealous of the law. Meaning what? See, most people tell you that's good, but you see, it's not talking about good. Watch what happens. See, they zealous of the law. So since they zealous of the law, we're going to see how this works out. And it says, and they are informed of thee. Why? Because he's teaching the truth. That thou teachest all the Jews which are among the Gentiles to forsake Moses. And you know he wasn't doing that. He wasn't doing that. He shows you the flip side. Saying that they ought not to circumcise the children, neither walk after the customs. Paul never did that. They were zealous, so they sitting there. So as soon as Paul can walk in there, they'll sit there and people know that saying, well, I'll tell you what, nah, this dude's a liar. That's why. That's why they wanted to get ahead of Paul. See, they knew Paul was in town, and then they lied and said, what? Paul teaches the Jews among the Gentiles to forsake the laws of Moses and don't circumcise your children. In fact, do not walk in the laws and the customs. For what reason? When they come together, they don't want to hear the truth. You got people even say that with me. You got a church right now, they'll sit there and say, I'm an Old Testament teacher. Complete stupidity. Complete stupidity out of all things. But then come to town, that's what they want to do. They want to embed stuff in people's heads before you get there. So as soon as you come there, you already got guards up. Why? Because they don't want you to do certain things. They want to make sure they can keep they claws and they paws in you. See, Hebrews 10 and 25, it makes this better and clear. It says what? Not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, by exhorting one another, in so much the more as ye see the day approaching. So they use these few words right here, this very verse, this exact direct verse right there, to say we got to assemble ourselves because the Bible says it. Using those few words, not forsaking assembling ourselves together, and here's the lie, and to learn not the truth. For that day is approaching, and it's embedded in lies. Because what? They're a symbol for fornication. They're assembling for adultery. They're a symbol for barbecue or Barbie swine cues. Barbie swine cues. Or they do trick or trucks. They do, which coming, Easter bunny. They do Christ cross. Christmas. They do these things. They assemble in a building who worth less than nothing, and this is what they assemble to. And God tells you this clear in 1 Corinthians. He tells you this clear in Corinthians chapter 11, verse 34. He makes this clear. Everything you see, he's telling you in this clear. He said, if any man hunger, not talking about hunger, because you're going to see how this is laid out, but people don't understand Paul. And he says, let him eat at home. Let him learn at home. Why? Because if you couldn't eat physically, and he says you eat at home and don't go out, and then he says that ye come not together unto what? Don't, he's saying what? Don't assemble yourselves together unto what? Unto condemnation. He says, then in the rest I will set in order when I come. So let's say he wasn't coming from a year from now, and he told you to eat at home. Now you don't have no food. Now what? So he's telling you, you learn your butt at home. And the rest I will set in order when I come. The same reason Paul was speaking, and if you want to be fed, the same people was doing, what was they doing when they was in the wilderness? He was raining manna to the ground, and people was gathering the manna, bringing it to their house. They wasn't bringing it to a church, was it? They were bringing it inside their house. In home. They wasn't taking it to a building, was it? They was taking it in their home. He says, but come not together unto condemnation. Don't come into judgment of those things which is in the law. Thou shalt not fornicate. But you visit a Christian church. You'll watch a Christian pastor on TV. Do they say all that the Lord has said we would do? Do you say all that the Lord has said ye will do? Do you? Do you? All that the Lord has said you will do. See, if you saying these things and you talking about you married to Christ, ask you a question. See, he's a jealous God. Now, do you pray with Christians? Do you pray with Christians? Do others that believe in another form of a God, do you pray with them? Do you pray with a Baptist that believes in a Baptist God? Do you pray with a Lutheran that prays with a Lutheran God? Do you pray with a Methodist that prays with a Methodist God? A Presbyterian with a Presbyterian God? A Protestant with a Protestant God? A Pentecostal with a Pentecostal God? With a non-denominational God? Or a Latter-day Saints God? Or a Jehovah's Witness God? Or a Scientist God? Or a Messianic Judaism God? Do you come together unto condemnation and pray with them? That makes you a whore. See, we do these things. Why? We come to the whore's house and we do spiritual fornication, do adultery, brothel houses, whore houses. Make it so good you never want to go home to that God again. He make it so good and they make it so appealing. It's just, boy, you can't stay away from it.
You make me so happy. And you know what I do when you still want to see me? Oh, Richie. You know, I have to admit, when we first met, I was intimidated by you.
You were?
And when we made love, I held back.
You did?
Who would know? Now that I've opened up and I've told you the truth about myself, I just want to be completely free to do any and everything you want me to do.
Oh, God.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. You baby.
Richie, I think I'm falling in love with you.
Yeah. Give me Holly code. 55377. Hello, Daddy.
Hey, darling.
Put mommy on the phone.
Yeah, Bob,
Richie.
Yeah, look, I ain't never coming home no more. Take it easy.
This boy is fused like fire. So stop melting, ladies, because the boy is hotter than hot. Right side, right heel, right hand, right on. Right on. And he's got something to say to those 50 billion Caribbeans out there. Pop it, D-man. Unbelievable! Wither, ladies, wither. It's gonna set the world on fire. Right here from 527, you know everything there is to know about that D-man. His dream, his desire, his most intimate of intimates. And what I'm looking at, Intimate is the stud muffin's middle name. So tell me, my man, you nervous in the search?
Not really.
Freeze those knees, my please. The curve is in the place, knees on the case. Yesterday's frog will be tomorrow's prince of Rockdown Paradise. A hotel of 1,001 follies, lollies, and liquor mollies. A magic fountain floor with non-stop flying women and looking all night long. All night long, all night. Ooh. Because this guy is going to be right home tomorrow. Right home, 5 to 7 will be a voice. And I'll be home trying to sexy as me here. D-Man. Yo, man.
The silliness that we do. We come together unto Satan devices, as he said, of 1,000 rooms. And women is always. So when we look at these, this is what we do. We go into things and we just believe whatever they say. See, Wisdom of Solomon says this. Wisdom of Solomon says this. And he makes this perfectly clear. Makes this perfectly clear. In Wisdom of Solomon chapter 14 and verse 21. He says, and this was the occasion to deceive the world. For men serving either calamity or trinity did ascribe unto stones and stocks the incommunicable name. So Satan said this, the world. See, but the building, the stocks and the works and what was going on, and we have to see what this was talking about. He deceived all Israel, is what that's saying. See, he deceived the world. He deceived Israel, is what it's saying. He deceived the world. Are you following me? So this here, where he's talking about he deceived the world with buildings and stocks, the works and devices of all Israel, serving these in that manner. How? Let's look at this. We got to sit there and we're going to unpack it and see how this is being unpacked. So what he said is making sure it's real clear. Idris chapter 14, verse 11. He makes this clear. He said the world is divided into 12 parts. And on this occasion, he deceived the world. And the world is divided into 12 parts. It's divided into 12 parts. So who did Satan deceive? He deceived us. He deceived us. That's why we have to understand what is going on all the time. 12 tribes of the 12 tribes of Israel. And only them that belongs to God. Those are the ones that belongs to God. John chapter 9, chapter 17 and verse 9, this is why he makes this perfectly clear. He said, I pray for them. He prayed for who? Those 12 tribes. But he said, I pray not for the world. See, he ain't praying for everybody. But for them which thou hast given me, for they are thine. So when he makes this clear, people have problems with what's going on in scripture. So again, in Matthew chapter 15, verse 24, we're going to look at that to understand, make sure that he's clear all the way through, because he answered and said, I am not sent but only unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So it's not a problem. But Israel has a problem. Meaning what? See, he sent only to us, but we want to take our inheritance and we want to act foolishly with it. You have fools on the corner. tell you all kind of stuff. They have people kissing their feet and doing all these silly things, and then they want to sit there and argue with another nation because they say this is not them, and they want to say these other people is them. What you going to argue with them for? If you know who you are, why are you worried about it? But we'll take our inheritance and we'll act foolishly with it, and we'll come together unto condemnation. And then we even teach others how to live a successful life of a sinful according to the flesh. We do this. We do this automatically. Automatically we do it. So I want to show you how we do this in this riotous living. In riotous living on what we do today. Let's look at Luke. We're going to go to Luke chapter 15. And we're going to get some understanding there. And we're going to look at verse 13. And it says, and not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. Why? Because this same young son was the prodigal son. But he wasted all his substance. Now, I'm going to tell you the stupidest thing in the world. People would sit there and talk about he wasted his money. That ain't even what that said. If we knew what the affiliation with this right here, this very word mean, we would have known what that was talking about. Riotous living in substance means what? This doubles for life or living. That's what that means. So, for example, let's look at this. We're going to go to Proverbs and get some understanding there. Let's go to Proverbs. We're going to go to chapter 3 and verse 9. And it says, honor the Lord with thy substance and with the first fruits of all thy increase. Honor the Lord with thy life. That substance, your life. Not sitting there telling you about the other part. Not sitting there talking about Psalms, where Psalms, see, when we sit there and we see Psalms, he's sitting there telling you this. So you're not honoring him correctly when people do it this way. When you want to honor God, he says what? In there, he says, for all the beasts of the forest of mine, the cattle upon 1,000 hills, all the fowls of the mountain and all the wild beasts in the field of mine. So you can't honor him with that. You also cannot honor him the other way when we look at it as a whole. Meaning what? Let's go to Haggai, and we're going to see even more. Chapter 2, verse 8. Same thing. You sitting there, for the silver is mine and the gold is mine, said the Lord. So these things belong to the Lord. These belongs to the Lord. So if he's sitting there and we have taken, and he said, honor the Lord with thy substance, what is he saying? Let's look at it. Let's look at it before we move forward. We're going to go to Romans chapter 12, verse 1. He says, beseech thee therefore, brother, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies as a living sacrifice. Interesting. Holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. So that's our reasonable service, to present our substance or living as a sacrifice unto God, honoring the Most High God. In case many of us will live a riotous life based on things and doctrines of Satan. This is what we do. We're good at doing that. And we do this through him, through the master plan, as I said. The waster, he's good at what he does. So the waster, and he mainly is a professional at what he does. We're going to look at this in Isaiah chapter 9, verse 15, and it says, in the ancient and honorable, he is the head. The prophet that teaches lies is the tail. So we come together and we get with this world, and they'll tell you all things are good. Divorce is good. Catfish is good. Separation, fornication. You know, you can eat whatever. Swine is now the other white meat. You got people eating whale meat, shark meat. All these things now became good. You do whatever you want of our lives, because God of Israel commands is bad. So we had to change them up a little bit. Now you can do whatever you want, and then your faith will be sealed to hell. So we come together and we learn of those prophets. These are the ancient and honorable. This is who we learn from. We learn it from him because he teaches you contrary what the laws of God are. He makes it perfectly clear. We come together and we want to hear words where everybody always feel good, and they got a feel good message, and we need to always approach everything with caution. With caution, we have to do it. And then when we approach it with caution, and when we get the things from God that God provides us, we receive joyfulness behind it. But we approached it with cautiousness. But we only feed off junk. We quickly put our daughters and our sons in the same junk trip. Let's see this. Let's look at this, and we're going to get the understanding of it. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 16. And we're going to go down to verse 20. And it tells you this, and it's clear. It says, moreover, it shouldn't even be saying that, moreover, meaning what? He's adding to stuff. Moreover, thou hast taken thy sons and thy daughters, whom thou hast borne unto me, and these have thou sacrificed unto them to be devoured. You sacrificed it unto the Satan, the ancient and honorable. We took our children, and you took a perfectly good creature and put it in the trash can. Meaning what? You took it to that building and put your child in the trash can. You took your baby and put it in the trash. And then we have the nerve to get on people who have put in their babies in the trash and left it for somebody to pick it up. We did the same thing. The same identical thing. He goes over. Thou hast slain my children and delivered them and caused them to pass through the fire for them. We're devouring our own children. All this riotous living we're doing now. We're doing all this and think there's nothing wrong with it. And then later we think we can go before God and God is going to accept us. He's making it up. I'm talking about perfectly clear in here. Perfectly clear in here. We haven't remembered what we were doing was wrong. It was sin. We are naked and we are polluted with nothing more than whoredom. We're polluted with nothing more than whoredom. We are no different than what he speaks in Proverbs. What do he say in Proverbs? I'm going to show you what he says in Proverbs, and we are no different than what this is saying. Proverbs chapter 26, verse 11. As comparing us as a dog. As a dog, we turn to his vomit. Tell you what, just in case people don't think you of a dog, we're going to go to Revelation chapter 22, and we're going to jump down, and we're going to see something that's been said. For without our dogs. For without our dogs. Who's saying this? I, Jesus, have sent my angel to testify these things unto the churches, unto these buildings. I am the root and offspring of David, the bright and morning star. He the one calling you a dog. So don't sit there and think it's different. Don't sit there and think it's different. This is the problem we have. We have caused our children to go through this fire. And we are no different than a dog returning to his vomit. We don't return to our vomit. Compared as a dog return to his vomit, so a fool returned to his folly. The same as a dog getting drunk in the harlot house. We just seen that. We just seen it. We just seen it in going in a whore's house and doing whorish things. Wasting our lives away in a whorehouse. Nothing more than going into the mother of harlots. Let's look at something. Let's go to Revelation chapter 17. Picking it up at verse 5, and it says, and upon her forehead, we seen it, the name written, Mystery, Babylon, the Great, the mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. Are you kidding me? We are going to the mother of whores, assembling ourselves to what? To a bunch of silliness. We're going in the whorehouses. We're going in the whorehouses. Let's look at something real quick and we'll come right back to it. We're going to look at something. We're going to go to Jeremiah. We're going to look at something. I want to show you this. Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 7. It says, how shall I pardon thee for this? Thy children has forsaken me and sworn by them that are no gods. I have fed them to full and then commit adultery and assembled themselves by troops in harlot houses, by the millions. By the millions. We assembled ourselves in the harlot's house. And we go in there to be fools. We go in there to act as fools.
Half man, half drugs, ass the clubs, bad boy, that's what's up. After bucks, crush crews after us. No games, we ain't laughing much. Nothing but big things. Check the hit list, how we twist shit. What changed but the name? We still here, you're rocking with the best. Don't worry if I write rhymes, I write checks. Who's the boss? Dudes is lost. Don't think cause I'm iced out, I'ma cool off. Who else but me? And if you don't feel me, that means you can't touch me. It's ugly, trust me. Get it right, dog, we ain't never left. We just move in silence and rep to the death. It's official, I survived what I've been through. Y'all got drama, the saga continues. We ain't going nowhere. We ain't going nowhere. We can't be stopped now. Cause it's bad boy for life. We ain't going nowhere. We ain't going nowhere. We can't be stopped now. Cause it's bad boy for life. Hey, look, straight from the Harlem streets. I don't play, I push it down with the Harlem heat. All of a sudden niggas got a problem with me. Black, wow, they running around acting like the black don't can't eat. And you know what? For some strange reason, I'm over this medication, feeling deranged, needing for y'all to put the word out. We ain't leaving, we trying to be rich before we don't stop breathing. Therefore, we kinda hustle lane, stay laying down our muscle game, still turn niggas' dreams to flames. You got the wire? If not, I ain't saying no names, you soon expire. No pain, I feel remorse, but some cautious. Me and Diddy up first, racing Porsches with the big twin valve exhausters. On the cover of your vibes, double like sounds and saucers, bitch. We ain't going nowhere. We ain't going nowhere. We can't be stopped now. Cause it's bad boy for life. We ain't going nowhere. We ain't going nowhere. We can't be stopped now. Cause it's bad boy for life.
So as I said, we sitting there and this is what we do. This is what we do in those houses. We do silliness and we get drunk in whorehouses. And that's what we do. Running all over the place. That's like a fool. And people, oh boy, service was so good. Service was so good today. And it tells you in verse 6, it says, and I saw the woman drunken with the life of the saints. Drunken with the blood. In the blood is the life of the saints, and the life of the martyrs, these people who believe and thinking they got the right one, Yahushua. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. John is saying, man, how did they do this? How did they pull this off? With great admiration, with great respect on how this whore fooled these educated people at the highest levels. At the highest levels. And the best way to fool the educated, the best way to fool the educated is when he's telling you something and you do contrary. So the best way to fool the educated is this. We're going to go to Isaiah. We're going to look at something. We're going to go to Isaiah chapter 34 in verse 16. So he tells you this, and he makes it clear. He says, seek ye out of the book of the Lord, singular of the Lord, and read. And they seek out books. Books on books on books. And they got you. Telling you about the Lord. Books and books and books on the Lord. They got you. He says, seek ye out of the book, singular. And they got you. It said, and read, no one of these, plural, shall fail. Books within this one book. Books within this one book. And none should want her made. But we don't do this. We want them to sit there and say real good, cool things. You like that cool pastor who would talk to you those real cool, slick things. See, we want to sit there when they not doing those things. We say other things. We have problems with it. So we'll go to Isaiah chapter 30, verse 10, and we'll see what we say. Because we say this. Which say what? See, and it tell you this here. It says this is a rebellious people, lying children that will not hear the law of the Lord. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear none of this stuff. Which say to the seer, see, man, don't say that. And unto the prophet, don't you prophesy not what is right, unto us right things. Speak unto us smooth things. Smooth. Be real smooth about it. Prophesy deceit. Are you with me? See, we in that whorehouse. She's going to tell you all kind of good stuff. See, John had respect unto that. So we going to pick this up and see how this waster was wasting us. So we're going to look at this. So we're going to pick this up right back at Luke chapter 15, and we're going to start at verse 13. It says, and not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his life with riotous living. Wasted it how? I'll show you how. I want to make sure you see it. Because you got to see it. You have to see it how he wasted his life. Galatians chapter 5 and start at verse 9. Wasted it with, now the works of the flesh were manifest, which are these. He wasted his life with adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry. Anything that was going down, he was going to those parties. Next thing you know, when he had spent all that there arose in his mighty famine in that land, and he began to want. Man, wait a minute. I keep coming up on that wrong side of the bed. It's a famine that I'm not getting. Waking up, and he keep waking up in a different whore's bed. See, but you got to remember what he joined himself to. He joined himself according to the lust of the flesh. He joined himself to the lust of the flesh. So it means what? Let's look at it a little bit more. Verse 15. He said, and went and joined himself to the citizens of that country. And he went and he sent him into the fields to feed swine. So now we in the field in feeding your knowledge with what? Swine. Swine. Now what you going to learn from you? Nothing. Nothing. But it gets better. It gets better. I tell you, it gets better because he wants you to understand this. Verse 16, and it says, and he would fain have filled his belly with the husk that the swine did eat. Fain. Really? Fain? Anything but fain. That he would desire to have filled his belly with the husk that the swine did eat. We have to learn what this stuff means. We have to know what these affiliations are. Now, this desire, he was inclined in this, in what do the fiend is in this talking about the incline in learning in the covering. So the husk is the covering. It's nothing more than the covering as the corn. So the Holy Ghost as it be with us. The Holy Ghost is our covering. That's our covering. Let's look at some examples of this, because this is the problem when we deal with a whole lot of other stuff. So we're going to go to Baruch and we're going to get some understandings here. Baruch chapter 5 and verse 8. And he tells you this. It says, moreover, even the wood of every sweet smelling tree shall overshadow Israel by the commandment of God. Beautiful verse. The tree, every good smelling tree, shall overshadow Israel. Let's look at something. Let's go a little bit deeper. Let's go to Matthew and watch what happens. And see another example. Matthew chapter 17, verse 5. It says, yet while they speak, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, a covering. And remember, a voice out of the cloud which said, this is my beloved Son, whom I am well pleased. Hear ye him. Really? So this is the covering that was going on. But you have Christians even believe this in where they had made a dumb doctrine out of it. And I'm going to show it to you. I want you to see it. I want you to see it to show you how dumb the doctrine is. We're going to go to Luke chapter 1, verse 35. And the angel answered her and said unto her, the Holy Ghost shall come upon thee, and with the power of the highest shall overshadow thee. They said right here, God had sex with Mary. God had sex with Mary, and it was saying nothing more that when Mary, who was espoused to Joseph, when they got together, what was going to happen, the Holy Ghost was going to cover them. He was going to overshadow them while they was performing that act. See, this is the same thing where we come with these all dumb knowledges and everything, and we want to assemble unto stupid condemnation. Learn that this sin is all one thing, because when we go in here, as he says a lot of stuff from the beginning. And we go in Genesis chapter 3, verse 14, and he tells you this, and this is what the heaven said. It said, and God said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shall thou go, and dust shall thou eat all the days of thy life. Really? It's really interesting, ain't it? Don't it say this over here in Luke? And he would have feigned to fill his belly with the husk. Interesting, is it? Interesting, is it? See, what we done is we assembled ourselves unto condemnation. Because when we assemble ourselves, we have to know what we're assembling to. Because God said, when we want to sit there, now you got one dumb guy out there really, where people really crazy about him, T.D. Jakes. And he talks against God. See, because he can assemble any day that he said, and God is always cool with it. See, but God tells you this in Amos chapter 5, verse 21. He makes this clear. He makes this so clear. He says, I hate, I despise your feast days, and I will not smell in your solemn assembly. He ain't going to be in there. It stink. It stink. It stink. So if it stink, you think he gonna come? He said, though you offer me burnt offering and your meat offering, I will not accept them, neither will I regard your peace offering of your fatted beasts. You offering beasts and goats, he ain't gonna even accept them. Didn't he make that clear where those were coming from? You done stole them. You stole them. Psalms 59 and 10 tells you, you stole those. Something that belongs to God. And we thinking we cool with it. See, he makes everything perfectly clear, but we like to play this other game and act like we don't know what he's talking about. See, Isaiah chapter 1 in verse 11, he makes more stuff to try to get us to understand what he's talking about all the time. He says, to what purpose is the multitude of your sacrifices unto me? What is, just because you're giving me a lot of money? What is it to me? Just because you done gave a multitude of your sacrifice. Well, Lord, I'm gonna give you, Lord, I've been did real good. I'm gonna give you $300 today. What purpose are the multitude of your sacrifices unto him? What is it to God? I am full of the burnt offerings of rams and of fatted beasts, and I delight not in the life of bullocks or of lambs or of he-goats. He don't delight in that stuff. He don't delight in that. If he don't delight in it, what happened? See, I can show you what went on. Why he don't delight in it. I'm going to show you why. Because this is our problem. We have the biggest problem in the world. Malachi chapter 3 verse 8. Will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed. God is telling you right up front, yet we have robbed him. It goes on more. When ye come to appear before me, who have required this at your hand to tread my court, to tread my courts. Are you serious? We have people going to show up in these places by the billions tomorrow. And they're going to say they're going in his courts and offer things that God don't want. It goes on, bring no more vain oblations. Incense is an abomination unto me. The new moons and Sabbath and the calling of assemblies. Oh, really? Forsake not assembling of yourself. The assemblies, I cannot away with it. It is iniquity, even the solemn meeting. Did he make that clear? Did he make this clear? See, he goes on more. Your new moons and your appointed feasts, my soul hateth. He hate them. No, he don't dislike them. He hate them. He don't, oh, this okay. No, he hate them. They are trouble unto me. I am worried to bear them. This is God. Then we want to sit there and we thinking we rolling with God. And if you sitting there, you tied to a building, you have your name tied to a building of some people who's telling you this is the church and it's not. He's telling you right there. What do you think about it? And then when you want to sit there, you got a lot of people there sit there and first thing they want to do, I'm gonna go pray to the Lord. I'm gonna go pray to the Lord and tell him this ain't it. Guess what? He took care of that too. Proverbs chapter 28 verse 9. He that by usury and unjust gain increases substance, increases life. Because those preachers are going to gain. When you got them preachers gaining from calling themselves, teaching you the word of God for usury, ye should gather it from him that will pity the poor. Think they don't do that? Think they don't do that? Getting it from the poor. The ones who really need to hear the word. But he goes on better. He that turneth away his ear from hearing the law, even, so when you don't want to hear it, when you sitting there and they sitting there, they saying, well, I'll tell you what, no, we don't want to hold on to that. We're going to hold on to this. He's saying, okay, you turn your ear away from what is true, even his prayer should be an abomination. Now, those prayers that you pray, that's an abomination to God. What is what? Makes him more hot. Makes him more angry. Makes him more upset. Are you following me? See, he's not here to play games with you. He's not here to sit there to think that all this stuff that you think that you doing is correct. And then he told you this in 1 Corinthians 11:34. He made this clear. If any man hunger, let him learn at home. We can't forsake an assembly in ourselves and this. Yeah, okay. Go down to that building that you call a church, and God already made it clear with the understanding that you are the church, and then you're going to assemble in a mountain of poo, and you're going to go in there and you're going to say, we are assembled together, ain't nothing but a pile of poo together unto condemnation. Come ye not together unto condemnation. But we're going to look at this and we're going to see a little bit more. Let's go to Hebrews to make sure we clear on this. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 25. And we're going to see right there. He says, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together as manner as some is, by exhorting one another, and so much more as ye see the day approaching. But this is the part that they miss. I'm going to show you something that they miss. And here it is right here. Verse 26 be after 25. For if we sin willfully after we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sin. So why are you assembling together unto condemnation? Can you answer that? Can anyone answer that? This is the problem that we go through. This is the problem that is happening. This is why we sit there and we see that many people are going to assemble themselves tomorrow unto condemnation and sitting there saying, no, we can assemble together. And they assembling, and he already said, why are you going to a building? And God said, you are the church. So if you're the church, why are you going to a building? You're the church, but you're going to a building. So you're already sinning against God. Why? Because you went to the building and you saying that's a church of God, and you just, we're a body of believers. No, you're a body of believers unto Satan. You're doing what Satan did because Satan the one built the building. How do we know? Ezekiel chapter 16, verse 24-25 told you that. So you go assemble, but then at the end of your lifespan, when you find yourself waking up in hell, you should not be mad at all. Because many people have walked in those buildings with a Bible in their hand, but they sitting there listening to dumb dogs telling them about something that is not true, and they can look in the Bible and see it, but they won't tell you what, but I got friends, I got cousins, my daddy been preaching here for 400 years and all these things been going on, so I'm going to stay here. You pack up and you bounce. This is the problem with most people. So with that, hopefully that you guys got some understanding from this. I'm trying to sit there to see how I can look at some of the chats. I'm trying to sit there and see right now, and I can take any questions and we can go from there. And we will be looking at it. Let me see. I'm trying to see. I'm trying to see if this will do. And I'm trying to sit there to see. I don't see it there. Well, I can't find my chat. That's interesting. And I seen another part. Let me see if I can check it here. Yeah, don't see the chat area. Interesting. I was trying to sit there to, let me see if I can do it this way. I'm trying to get to hold to the chat for you guys. So I'm trying to sit there and see what it is here. And if I can see the chat, then I can answer your questions, because I do know it is set. And I don't see the chat. Oh, wait a minute. I found the chat. Found the chat. Okay, so let's see. So I can answer questions if you guys have any questions. And we can take care of it from there also. So if you have a question, I'd be more than happy to answer it right now as we going through it through this way. And I want to sit there and see we have this, and give me one moment. I'm just checking to make sure we are good there. And we should be. Let me see, we should be pretty good there. So I want to make sure that everybody is I want to sit there and let me see here now. And for some reason it won't let me chat. I don't know how I won't let you chat because I can see you in here. And I can see you actually posted that. So I don't get that. But it seems like we don't have any questions, which is pretty good. So what I'm gonna do, I'll give it a couple of more minutes. I'm gonna give it a couple of more minutes and see if we have any. The quarantine is lifted. No church until quarantine is lifted. Yeah, that one doesn't make sense. And let me see. I don't see any questions, so we're in pretty good shape. So what I will be doing, since we have no questions that's popping up, so what I'll be doing, we will be going into Romans tomorrow morning as normal. We'll do that. It'll be over here, and we'll debate if we'll put it in both areas, which I highly doubt it. And we will go on further with what we're doing. Yeah, and Luke, the husk is a covering. It covers up the corn. It protects the corn. So that's what we have to remember. We have to know what each piece is actually being provided. So that husk that's over the corn is a covering. So that's what what I was saying. And that's actually what that means. And so hopefully that answers that one. I'm trying to make sure that we can get the any of the other people that might have questions on that. And question, yeah, related to us. Yeah. How is it related to us? So same thing is the husk. When you look at the husk is the covering. Now corn is what? The corn is on the cob. The cob, it has a lot of pits and it has a lot of pieces of corn. Each of those, and you reference those the same as you see people. So then you see that it's the covering of the corn, which is on the husk. Technically what it's doing. So that's how you relate that back to people. Because you see corn has a lot of different, it has a bunch of little pieces on there. Okay, so again, people cannot assemble because they're quarantined in New York. Okay, again, I don't know why you keep saying the same thing, because assembling together unto condemnation, I don't get what you're saying. This is Hogan. I don't get the reason you putting that in there, because you keep saying people cannot assemble, but however, people, if they was able, they still would assemble. So I don't get why you saying what you're saying. So you actually making no sense. Yeah, because you ain't making no sense whatsoever. So let me see. I have no other question here, and I don't see him posting anything else because he's making absolutely no sense here. But the main thing is that you continue to study. When you study, and you, let me see, and does it represent pleasure of the flesh? Yes, desires. So plan is nothing but a desire. That's all it means. And mainly it's desires of the flesh. And mainly what he was desiring to do, he was desiring to have the same thing. So yeah, so that's how you see that. So just make sure when you see that in there, you know what it's talking about. Okay, so Hogan, you can really just, just kind of done with you on a lot of this stuff. because you're actually making no sense. You know, yeah, I appreciate it. I do appreciate it that you guys continue as we continue to move forward and making sure that everything going forward as we continually move forward to understand what is it and how people like to gather together unto any kind of way they can come together, and they do it, and they do it unto condemnation. So the catch really is, and the moral of the teaching is, you assembling yourselves to what you trying to be the building, and God is already saying you are the building. Shows that we just being ignorant. So, more of the story, let's not be stupid. Let's think through, understand what is being taught. So, other than that, I don't see any other questions that we're going to be going through. But tomorrow we will be going through the Romans again. We will be going through that. So that one we'll be doing it. And then also I want to announce for everybody who want to be part of the second part of the written communication class, we're actually going to be shutting that down for all registered people that want to be part of it next week. So if you want to be part of it, send me an email and let me know that you want to be part of it, and then you can be sent the information. Because other than that, once we do it, we lock everything out again to where you can't be part of it. So if you want to be part of the second of it, please send me an email. Let me know, and I put my email in there if you want to be part of it. Let me do this again. So that's it. Send me an email to if you want to be part of the written communication class. So and main thing is, it's not a thing the way you want to become part of it and you just want to and the digital notebooks, yeah, I'm getting pushed on that a lot. And she has my number, so I know her and her husband can call me. But no, we wasn't really planning on doing the digital part. And I was doing that really just for demonstration. And I could sit there and see, I can check with them, but I was really doing it for demonstration. But I can check with them if it is a digital one, that they do it in digital, I definitely let you know. I promise you that I will let you know. So we'll go from there. And then let's see what else we have. We have no other one. So what we're going to do, we're going to get ready to break here, and we're prepared for tomorrow. So with that, we're going to hopefully that everybody, enjoyed the lesson, learned something out of it. And how do I register? I just put it in there. Send me an email that you have an interest in the written communication class. That's what I have to receive, saying I want to be part of the written communication class. As soon as you do that, then you'll get a email on it, and then you can sit there and where you can see you can register. So with that, I say to each and every person, enjoy the rest of your Sabbath. I want to make sure I got that other part up. Enjoy the rest of your Sabbath. So until then, I say to each and every person, hey, shalom.